opportunity to become a United States Marine. Don't throw your education away. For more information,
welcome everybody to another week of Northern Kentucky Magazine. We'll kick this Monday off on a kind of warm note. Temperature-wise, Wes Wright will check in here shortly with our forecast, but it looks like we're in for a stretch of some pretty hot days here as we go in through this week, first full week of the month of August. This Saturday at Randolph Park in Covington, the second annual African American Heritage Festival will be staged. By all accounts, last year's outing a success. The organizers, Pat Fan and Pamela Mullins and others, felt there could have been a few more people, but they were tickled with what did turn out, the amount of folks who did show up, and they're looking for a bigger and better outing this coming Saturday. Pat and I will talk about it, but also have some video to share with you of all the fun that occurred last year. And funny man Steve Caminiti, proud native son of the Tri-State. You've seen him on Comedy Channel, you've seen him on HBO, you've seen him on a lot of the comedy shows on national level television, and he's from right here in the good old Tri-State. Steve's going to be along here this morning, spend some time with us. I'm sure he'll have a thought or two about the Olympics and other matters. So we'll look forward to that as well. Now we'll ask Wes Wright, our fine news director, and Trip Topkin on the sports side of things to give us a joint preview of stories they're working on for today and tonight.
All right, Dick, here's what's happening. Over the weekend, Northern Kentucky lost a woman that many people, especially in Covington, consider a true hero. Former Covington School Board member and school board president and restaurant owner Virginia Chapman died after a 3-year battle with lung cancer. Mrs. Chapman was 76. Her Anchor Grill restaurant on Pike Street celebrated its 50-year anniversary last May. Visitation is tonight from 4 to 9 at Ketchen & Sons Funeral Home on Dixie Highway in Ellesmere. Funeral service is set for tomorrow at 12 noon. A Crescent Springs woman has been arrested and charged with arson. Police say Stephanie Lane is charged with setting fire to her own home, a two-family residence on Terry Lane. The fire did $100,000 damage. 2 people living on the second floor escaped unhurt. And it's off and running. The Boone County Fair expected to draw 35,000 to 40,000 to the fairgrounds in Burlington this week. Today's highlights include a 4-H poultry and dairy show, a pig scramble, a horse show, a horse pulling contest, and yes, qualifying rounds of the horseshoe pitching contest. We will have a complete news and sports update tonight on Northern Kentucky Headline News 24:54 after the hour, as well as 6:30, 8:30, and 11:35 tonight on TKR6. What's coming up in the sports segment tonight? Trip Topkin now has a preview.
Okay, thank you very much. Tonight in Sports Minute, we will continue our look at Northern Kentucky high school football teams. Today's stop is the
Our extension service agents are going to do the honors for us, so let's zip on down now and hook up with Bing Dickerson from the Boone County Extension Office. Bing?
Thanks, Dick. I'm at the Boone County Fair where there are a lot of events going on and will be going on all week. I just had a chance to talk to Mr. Walter Ellis, who has an antique Morrison Fairbanks engine entered in the Antique Engine and Tractor Contest.
Well, we have a lot of fun, of course, with the tractor pulls and different things that we have, and then we have our antique engines that we run, and everybody gets together and just enjoys themselves.
Now you're entering your engine in the competition.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you won in the past?
Yeah, well, I've won trophies a few different times, and also ribbons. You know, we get ribbons for having the oldest engine or the best looking engine or the roughest engine or whatever.
Later today at the Boone County Fair at 2 p.m. we will be having the dairy judging contest from 2
We don't get to see each other quite as much as we would like to. First of all, Pat, excuse me, Pamela Mullins and you and many others, but you two primarily pulled this thing together last year. Are you working just as hard for this year's?
Well, it's hard, but it's not as hard as, because the first year is always the hardest because you're setting everything up. But by me having the paper, a lot of things was already in place, so I just used the resources that were available to us.
And remind everyone, we should have new people in the area, you know, what the Suspension Press is. The
Suspension Press was an African-American paper founded by myself in 1982, and it was founded for the sole purpose of educating, motivation, and enlightening the African-American community about the resources that are available to them and give them an opportunity to see themselves in their own community.
Video Scrapbook Productions is a relatively new entity, or fairly new, with Pamela Mullins.
Yes.
How does the press interface with the scrapbook, Video Scrapbook?
Well, actually, I started the Suspension Press Present in 1983 on cable, and then Pam started the Video Scrapbook production, I think, in 88, and they complement each other. Both of our program, you know, the paper and what I do and what she does complement each other. And basically, we still have the same desires, and that is to help our African-American brothers and sisters have a better way of life.
Randolph Park will be the location again this Saturday from noon to 9:30.
Correct.
And how do you get there?
You coming from wherever, you're coming from Cincinnati, of course, we don't know if any Cincinnatians are watching this morning, but just in case they are, you take the Suspension Bridge, south on Scott Street to 10th Street, left on 10th and Scott, all the way down at the end of 10th Street, and take a right, and you run right into the park.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have to turn to the park, otherwise you run into the flood wall.
That's right. Or you can turn to your right, but if you turn to your left.
Yeah.
But then, of course, if anyone's coming, they can take Greenup Street, Scott Street, to 10th Street. You have to come off Scott. You can come from 11th Street. You can come from 12th Street, but they're all kind of off of Prospect. Of course, Prospect runs into Wheeler, and Wheeler runs into Garrett, so it's kind of mixed up, that street.
Any signage? Can I have any signs? Maybe a block or two
away?
We
do have we have posting our signs out in the park area right now. As a matter of fact, very good-looking signs, and of course down at the park in other areas, and of course we're putting up flyers as well.
Now, the first one was in honor or memory of an important African American of Northern Kentucky, and who is honored this year?
Emma Hollis is honored this year.
And tell us about Emma.
Mrs. Hollis was always, when I think of Mrs. Hollis, I think of the Memorial Day Parade in the Girl Scout troop, because she was the founder of she established the first black Girl Scout group in Covington and was the leader for the 30 years. She also founded the teen canteen, which I was a part of in 1963. So every Friday night, anybody that thinks of Mrs. Hollis, they think about Friday night dances, Easter dances, holiday dances, because Mrs. Hollis always took her time to dedicate it to the rest of the children after she made sure that her children was taken care of. Mm-hmm. And she's a top lady of distinction. She's been involved in many of boards and things and she's done a lot of things that people don't even know anything about. So
who was last year's honoree, Pat?
Last year's honoree was Josephine Humphreys, who was a mentor in my life, whom I met when I was a little girl, and also helped develop me.
Didn't she just pass in the last year or two?
She passed in 1994. And the funny thing about that was when she was passing, when I went to see her, with her last little bit of energy, she looked up and said, "Oh, hi, Trish, thanks for coming." And I was like, why is she thanking me? Yeah. But when we were praying that day, right shortly before she died, I felt energies coming from her, which is the first time I'd ever felt anything like that during my spiritual encounters and praying with her.
I wish I had the time. I didn't, but it seems to me she was on our program, Northern Kentucky Magazine, early on, maybe the first or second year, because we came on the air in '92.
Okay.
We'll be 4 years old. But I've got a shot of everybody that's ever been on a show, including you.
Okay, and I've been on here a few times.
You never change.
Well, this morning I've changed, huh?
Why do you stay the same? You never get any older, you never get crow's feet, you never get any of that stuff.
Well, it's because of the Lord. You know, and honestly, when I say that, when I talk about God in my life, it is God in my life that has protected me and kept me safe because of what we are trying to do. And as an African American, it's not easy showing up in different places and realizing that people don't want you there because of the color of your skin. Mm. But, you know, I had to overcome that. And it wasn't easy, but once I got the hang of it, I concentrate on the more positive than the negatives.
A little bit later on, we're going to have some footage from last year's inaugural event. And in there, you won't hear the interview, but among the people Pat interviewed, Bill Martin was in there somewhere, I believe, and made the comment about the African-American population of Northern Kentucky as being so small that many people don't even know we're here, was the way he put it.
Well,
I mean,
they said that Northern Kentucky is the stepchild to the state of Kentucky. That's not just African Americans, but because we're so separated. But the thing is we don't have a lot of black representation in our area. Now we have Arnold Simpson, who is a state representative, Hensley Jamont, who just got Pam Mullins' position on the school board. So most of the time, blacks leave here because they don't feel that there's any reason to stay here because there's no advancement for them here. And I feel, you know, because I tried to leave 2 years ago. I was going to go to Philadelphia.
yeah, I remember you telling me.
But I had to come back. So I figured that if everybody leaves, then where would they leave everybody at?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay. She's been keeping the faith for quite a long time. We'll be back with Pat Fan, tell you more about the second annual African American Heritage get-together at the festival, and we'll have footage as well as Northern Kentucky Magazine will continue right after this time out on TKR6. In Covington, and Pat Fan is our special guest this morning to chat about it. Why don't we go through the format for the day, Pat?
Okay, the format for the day is, you know, of course, we got free events, prizes, and entertainment, face painting, storytelling, and more. The Northern Kentucky Brotherhood, who's very popular in the community, will be singing. And of course, since the Cincinnati Taft High School Band, last year they marched around the city, and it woke up the people and brought the people to the festival.
Wow.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that band brought tears to my eyes because there had not been a black band in our community since 1965 when they closed the high school for Lincoln Grant.
I'll be done.
And then you've got a gospel recording artist by the name of Cynthia Robinson. Now that's Pam's contact. I don't really know her. And of course, I'll be doing yours truly. I'll be doing the Harriet Tubman portrayal, but this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to be add some kids from the community with me to enhance it, and they, of course, they will be attired in slave things, and they'll be singing as well. And then we have Donald and David Stewart with a guest female artist who's singing jazz, Penny Clark, and we have an evangelist, Ruby Varner, who's gospel, Raymond Harley, Covington's own, and he'll be doing R&B, and Manifest, which is a group that I met a few years ago just singing on the street and brought them over here, and they were a guest on the TV, so they're coming back over here this year. Michael Anthony Ingram, he's going to be doing poetry, and Carolyn Shipman, she'll be performing dramatic, and also we have a Julie Yancey from Cincinnati that will also be doing storytelling. And we have Tori Herndon, Toshua Perrin, and we have just a lot of youth in the area that will be participating. And what we're hoping to do that day to enhance it is to see if any of the children that have a special gift might want to come up on the stage and do something, and we'll give them an opportunity to express themselves, and I think we'll be able to enhance the talent.
Great. All right. Let's get the tape up and rolling, and Pat and I'll just sit back and enjoy it with you all. Run just a little bit under 3 minutes, give you a good flavor of what goes on.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Suspension Press Presents. Today we're giving our coverage to the Northern Kentucky's first annual African American Heritage Festival, and it is being brought to you by Video Scrapbook Productions and Pamela E. Mullins, who is the owner of Video Scrapbook Production. Pam, welcome, and we're so happy to be with you today, and tell us something about what's going on.
It's the first annual Northern Kentucky African American Heritage Festival. This is truly a historic event. It's the first time the city of Covington has ever experienced anything like this regarding a cultural type of event for the African American community. We've got entertainment, we've got education, we've got information. There's just a lot of things that's going on here today at the park, and it's all for the Northern Kentucky community, but in particular, we're trying to give Northern Kentucky a dose of African American culture.
Now, I'm sure that you've seen a lot of things going on in our community, but I am sure that this is the first time that I've ever been able to interview the community to this extent. And I hope that next year that we will get everyone to be more cooperative. That means the city, the state, the county, and all the other businesses to come on and pitch in on this festival, because I am sure that in years to come, they will be able to reap the benefits and making our community a better place to live.
And I'm singing my song. All I wanna be is understood. Respect my feelings so I feel good. All I wanna be is understood. Let me be.
Northern Kentucky Magazine continues after a timeout right here on TKR6.
It seems no matter which direction you turn in Northern Kentucky, you're in the middle of a road construction project. On the next
Coming up this Saturday at Randolph Park. We want everybody to come to this. We want we want more white folks, right? To come down and really talk to people and get to know each other, and you know,
and find out more about our culture.
Yeah.
We need to interact and start respecting each other's culture. We don't have the respect for each other's culture. Country Western, you know, we think it's a joke. Country Western is very popular, and we just need to learn how to appreciate each other a little bit better.
I know when I was at WBE one morning, a lady called and she said, "Dick, you're not going to believe this." She says, "I'm an African American woman, and I like country." And I said, "I'm not surprised you like country. I like certain rhythm and blues. I mean, we're all people."
Yeah.
She thought I'd be surprised that she's a black woman was listening to country music.
Well, that's because it's non-traditional. Yeah.
Comprehensive health care, what's cooking there, or you hope will occur?
Well, as far as the New Direction is concerned, New Direction for African American Females had talked to Comprehensive Care, joining forces together and working with us, and hopefully they can become our fiscal agent and get New Directions rolling, because I tell you, right now where I see our young girls and kids, it's needed. It's needed more now than what it was when I first started it in 1991. The need is there, is for the community to understand the need and give us as African Americans an opportunity to develop places like the Welcome House and things of that nature, because we need that. And I think the last time I was on here I discussed that. We need to feel that closeness of our own. We open up more. See, myself, I can open up to pretty anybody, but I know at one point in my life I was not always able to do that.
Sounds like you're doing Harriet Tubman more than you ever have. You sound like you're busy as can be. I think you said you did her over the weekend.
Well, I did a complimentary at the I did one at the church. I did that one I did it at St. Paul's Church yesterday morning, and it was only about like an audience of 8, but it didn't make any difference. I would do it for an audience of 1, as long as they understand the price that was paid for us to be where we are today. That's the important point, that someone laid down their life for us to have the things that we have today.
Sure. But at least things, thanks to you again and Pamela and others, at least things are happening. You know, the festival,
the Heritage Festival,
Old Timers event.
The Old Timers event belongs to someone else, but at least it's happening. Because 14 years ago, when I first started the paper, none of these things were going on.
Right.
But after I started the paper, a lot of events started taking place, and when those events started taking place, and people brought me the information, and I published it.
Sure.
So hopefully that part of the suspension press will be born again and come back to life.
Well, I'm saying if more of the media would hook up to this thing.
Right.
You know, awareness is a key to all of this.
All of it.
Years and years, nothing occurred. We didn't even know about African American heritage and its culture.
I didn't either, and I was African American. I'm African American.
Right.
I went to school and I was never taught my history. Yeah. But the thing is, even though we were not taught it, and we realize that the library is full of it, we have resources that are available. So everything that we need right now is at our fingertips and can be provided through us. But the only thing about African Americans is we do not have the financial resources to do these things. And that's the part where others must come in, like they did during the Underground Railroad, because there is no way possible that we would have ever gotten out of slavery.
We're almost
without
out of time, Pat.
Okay.
I wanted to give you a chance to thank some sponsors, but we don't have time. I'm just happy to see TKR's in there.
TKR is.
Somewhere. All right, thanks, Pat. And it's Saturday at Randolph Park in Covington, 2nd annual, Northern Kentucky African American Heritage Festival. Here are numbers for more information. Hang in there with us. Steve Caminiti, professional comedian, will join me shortly when Northern Kentucky Magazine continues right here on TKR6.
WENN's about to hit it big.
Has your station ever been on the air live in so many places?
The biggest hit has Hillary.